Welcome to Strange Gossip. I'm Catherine.
And I'm Taylor, and this is going to be like your friend's take on the weird.
Because we're tired of real life problems and want to talk about spooky shit.
Welcome back to season 3, episode... Cool. Crazy.
It is
again. Why is it crazy every time? I don't know.
It always is. It's also a great thing to say. But it is interesting because we are recording this before releasing season 3, so it still does kind of feel weird. Like we haven't posted the new episode yet, so it is still feeling a little like, are we back? Are we back? I don't know.
I know. I just reviewed that episode last night. And you know what's weird is every time I re-listen to our episodes or I like rewatch them back, it's like I'm watching it for the first time. Like I have brain amnesia.
Yes.
I'm like, what the did I even talk about?
I go
and I'm like enthralled. I'm like in it. I'm like Trent's like just like kind of zoning out. I'm like, dude, this is like amazing. Top quality.
That's great though. That's a great sign. Because I feel the same way. Like I will forget what we talk about, especially like funny moments because we just talk all the time. Like, you know, we're just talking as friends and like I'll forget. You know, when you always tell people that you and your friend are very funny, but like everyone says that about them and their friend. But I'll listen back to us and I'll be like, David, this is like actually funny, right? I don't know if he's just gassing me up. He's like, sure. I think we're hilarious.
Trent just like has like the 10-second attention span. He's like, hey, yeah, I'm going to go make dinner. I'm like, cool.
Thanks for the support.
I like my podcast. Thank you.
That's hilarious. But
so good.
Season 3, episode 2, episode 1 will be released very soon. To you guys, that means nothing because this is already out now. But hey, how's it going?
Hey,
how's
if
your
you
summer?
haven't listened to it, go back there. It's interesting. It's fun. It's a fun one. Oh, do you have any current topics today?
Okay, I don't. I am an empty shell of topics.
The only one that I have, because of recency bias, is the frickin' orb in your frickin' background from the last episode.
We definitely need to play it back because
What the fuck is that?
I was like, is it a bug? Like, what flew behind me?
That's my only thought. It could be like a little natty type thing. But I don't think that your house has gnats.
It doesn't? And like, I would be very honest with you if I thought there were like flies in my house because it's the summer, more bugs come out.
Well,
so I was trying to think that. No, and it's
not even flying like a fly.
No, and it moves, and we'll play it over this part. So if you are watching, you will see it. If you're listening, basically what happens is like this little orb that goes down and then like check marks up. Like it doesn't make sense.
Right when we started talking about rap. And it just must not like the genre. It's like,
I have a ghost in my house that loves the podcast, hates the rap segment, and just took off.
Bailed.
Am I haunted? Is this house haunted? I mean,
I think
it's from the 40s.
They just talk about Drake, and it's
lost interest completely. That's hilarious.
That's how you get it out of your house. Just play Drake, and it'll fucking leave.
No. Okay, well, there's the question: do ghosts have music preferences?
And clearly.
Well, this week we're talking about conspiracies. I mean, we kicked it off perfectly last week with the current topic being conspiracies. So it only felt right being able to dive into it.
Yeah.
And I think this week it's my time to shine first.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, girl, you ready?
Yeah.
Today, I'm covering the Atari mass burial.
I would have never fucking got that. Because, context. We do thumbnails before we start. And we don't know what we're covering. And I'm just sitting over here going like this. And you're playing a game.
Atari.
So like, I didn't know that was a game. I was just like a mass burial. How does that make... Okay. Give me more info.
So I've been playing a lot of Stardew Valley recently. And when I was going through conspiracies for this week, I was like, okay, we mentioned so many heavy hitters. So I was like, shoot, should I do one of the ones I mentioned last week? And I was like, man, that seems like, oh my gosh, like it's overwhelming. To be fair, it's so much like we put a lot of effort and work into this podcast, but there are certain topics that you're like the Titanic took so long.
Oh my God.
Because there was so much stuff and you're trying to condense it all. So a lot of the things we mentioned last week were such big, heavy hitters. So I was like, okay, I want to have fun with this one this week, but I was just getting very overwhelmed. And I obviously been playing a lot of Stardew Valley. Shout out to anyone that plays. I think Taylor needs to start. Because it's great. It's great. If you like Animal Crossing, it's like a great
I gave up on Animal Crossing. My animal is currently dying on its island. Everybody's moved off. Nobody's interested. He's taken too long to build shit. It just... You can only swim in the ocean and catch so many fish before you're like, all right.
One of my favorite things about the game is if you haven't played for a minute, you'll come back and your villagers will kind of shade you. They'll basically be like, oh, you haven't been here in a minute? Like, you've been gone a whole month?
Yeah, living my real life, friends. Sorry.
But they get so shady about it. And I always get so mad. And I'm like, why are you shading me? David hasn't been on this island in like 3 years, bro. Like,
oh my God.
Like, hello? At least I'm coming back to you.
I hated seeing these like islands that were so freaking legit, like built out, but they can't do that unless they cheat and they like skip ahead and like do the things to get there. Because like realistically, that would take like 20 years to make your island look like that.
So anyway, so when I was going through the conspiracies, I saw this one and I went, ooh, okay. I'm trying to remember, like I remember when this was kind of popping off a little bit on the internet. So I was curious if you've ever heard of it.
No, I didn't even know it was a game. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Okay,
I don't even know what it is.
Let's get into it. So what kind of conspiracy can be behind a video game company? The legend goes that Atari, due to financial stress after the video game crash of 1983, buried millions of unsold video game cartridges, consoles, and computers in a New Mexico landfill site.
Wait, 1983?
Mm-hmm.
Was there even video games back then?
Mm-hmm.
When did video games come out? Do you know?
Well, so there's a golden age of video game development, and this is kind of around that time. So Atari actually was founded in 1972, just for some context.
Okay.
But you know, we're talking Atari is the video game company, and I get into this later, behind Pong. Do you remember Pong?
Yeah, it's like, coming back to me. Like the Atari, at first I'm like, is this like some ancient civilization mass burial that we're getting into? Like, how does that relate to video games? But now I'm like, oh, okay.
I see. Atari sounds like some really crazy.
It's like the Aztecs something. I don't know.
Ancient alien theorists suggest that Pong came from,
Honestly, though.
Hilarious. Whispers of this treasure drove video game lovers mad, hypothesizing why Atari would dump their product and where so they might dream of hunting down this buried treasure.
That would be badass.
Right? Rumored buried products included millions of copies of E.T. the Extraterrestrial video game, often cited as one of the worst video games ever released.
That's sad. I like E.T. Get out of here.
The movie could still be great. Apparently, the video game.
That's true. When they make video games, sometimes they're shitty.
Sometimes they're bad.
That's fine.
Atari 2600 consoles, Pac-Man and Mrs. Pac-Man.
Cute.
And even high-end computers. Stories were shared of kids going to the dump site days after the burial in September 1983 and coming back with usable Atari products.
Do you know what this reminds me of, though?
Ooh, what?
Have you heard of dumpster diving at, like, the back of, like, Ultas and shit?
Girl, I get into this later.
Okay, because this is what this is.
Same brain.
Okay. Because this was a craze. Like, people were, like dumpster diving for makeup, but continue.
You're on. We're on.
It's the same thing.
But was this just a good story to share with other video game lovers who might want to go on a treasure hunt? Or is there actually some truth to this? Let's start with Atari.
Okay.
Atari, of course, denied such a dump existed. For context, Atari was founded in 1972, roughly 10 years before this burial would have taken place. Mm-hmm. Instrumental for popularizing arcade games with its hits like Pong and Asteroids, Atari became a key player in the push for home consoles. The co-founder of Atari also started Chuck E. Cheese, so there would be more places to put arcade games.
The fucking conspiracies.
And how crazy is that?
Don't you remember the pizza conspiracy from Chuck E. Cheese?
Oh, that they would like mesh them together? That just makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Now, but then if it's the same guy, I feel like he would be too cheap to bury shit in a hole.
Well, that was kind of the point, right? Like, we're talking millions of games. Like, why would they do this? It doesn't really make much sense. But we need to thank Atari because, here I am in 2024 playing Stardew Valley at home, and they were kind of the pioneers. So flowers to Atari.
Yeah. Thanks, dude.
So this conspiracy of Atari mass burying their products was fueled by the video game crash of 1983. Basically, consumers were starting to favor personal computers over consoles, while video game distributors pumped too much product into the market. Products that were rushed and honestly just bad. Like, they were just bad.
Well, they're probably so expensive back then, too. Like, I don't remember when I got my first computer, but it was probably like elementary school, middle school. I was a little bit older before the first computer entered my house.
Isn't that so crazy? That I remember the first time we got a computer. I remember my dad had a family member that passed away, and they sent us money. I'm probably going to cut this out. And they sent us money and bought a computer. So the first computer we had in our household, I think, was in kindergarten. And I feel like we were one of the earlier ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having a computer in the house was not really a thing.
Mm-hmm. And like when you did get computers, they were freaking literal, like chunky
tanks. They were tanks. I mean, still like cell phones. Those were like bricks.
Crazy.
Back in it. Wild. So keeping that in mind, it makes total sense that Atari would have too much product that they would need to dispose of. Atari at the time accounted for 80% of the video game market.
Wow, that's a lot.
So to kind of have such a hold on the market and the market tank so bad.
Yeah. You're kind of the one tanking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In September 1983, the Alamogordo Daily News of Alamogordo, New Mexico, reported in a series of articles that between 10 to 20 semi-trailer truckloads of Atari boxes, cartridges, and systems from an Atari storehouse in Texas were crushed and buried at a landfill within the city. And a quick pause, Alamogordo is known for its connection with the 1945 Trinity test, which was the first ever explosion of an atomic bomb. It's also not far away from Roswell and the Roswell crash site.
The drama.
New Mexico, man.
Conspiracy theories going on. What's happening here?
New Mexico. That's where you apparently just get things. You throw things into New Mexico. You find aliens in New Mexico. There's a lot going on in New Mexico.
I have atomic bomb. Actually, mine has an atomic bomb reference too. So there's a doo-doo for you.
So that's what this was. Because Taylor and I don't know. I don't know if we've said this yet, but we don't know each other's stories today before.
But you
recording.
Obviously see the title. You know what I'm going to get into. But also, you probably don't actually understand how that connects. So we'll get into it later.
I feel like the doo-doo of today is going to be fun for that reason. All right, back to Atari. The Alamogordo Daily News reported that Atari did this because they were updating their systems and getting rid of product that was incompatible. But this was later contradicted by another worker who claimed that that wasn't the case. So even in the reporting, things are not really lining up with who says what and how.
Yeah, okay.
An official would then later claim that Atari was only sending broken and returned material and that it was a, quote, by and large, inoperable stuff.
Okay. Companies do that. So
it makes sense. It's the quick PR version of
checks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another news service reported people overseeing the operation reported seeing cartridges of the popular video games E.T., Pac-Man, and Mrs. Pac-Man, as well as consoles and high-end computers, just as the legend stated. This report also stated that kids in the town began robbing the Atari grave, coming up with cartridges of E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, Defender, and Berserk.
But if E.T. was shit, so they say, what is it worth digging for a shitty-ass video game? I guess if you're a kid.
If you're a kid and you hear the legend of buried treasure, like, you're going to go.
Sick. Yeah, it's true.
And I think there's, like, roughly 25,000. Like, that's the population at the time. So, like, you're a bored kid in the 80s and you hear that Atari, which was kind of a big, video games were a big component for 80s kids. You hear that happen, or I guess 70s kids.
Well, you never know what you're going to dig up. So it's like,
That's also true.
You're all pissed off you get E.T. You're like, fuck.
You get E.T. and not the E.T. video game. Devastating.
Yeah.
find aliens meant to find the alien video game. I'm so into
For
this.
real.
These local stories started gaining enough traction that it caught the attention of the New York Times, and they reported on Atari dumping in New Mexico.
The fuck, dude? Already a doo-doo-doo-doo. Mine is like a full-on New York Times article. Keep going. New York Times is in the conspiracy theories.
It's in it. Has our backs. So an Atari representative confirmed the story for the paper, stating that they did discard inventory, but didn't give much more specifics than that. They were absolutely downplaying it. It wasn't, okay, so we did dump things, but it's not so bad. It's not all these video games. It was basically just junk, and people are taking this out of proportion.
Okay.
By the end of the month, so they buried things the beginning of the month. By the end of the month, Atari hired guards to keep reporters and the public out of the burial area, as well as they poured a layer of concrete on top of the crushed materials, a rare occurrence in waste disposal.
Well, also, like, this is totally not environmentally safe. Like, take it to a
all
landfill,
bad.
honey. There's, like, so many things that landfills do to, like, keep that from leaching into the freaking earth. But that's okay. We'll let it slide. Just cover it with concrete. It's like covering a body. It's freaking nothing happened here.
And they basically said the reason why they did this, the concrete, was because it wasn't to hide product. It was because there were dead animals buried, and they didn't want kids to, like, discover the dead animals.
Wait. What fucking dead animals was what do you mean?
That's what they said. They were like, well, you know, like a lot of people are making this seem like we got rid of all this product. We didn't do that. It's just kind of whatever materials. But because so much of the public is coming here and trying to dig it up, they actually could injure themselves. And we don't want to have the risk of them injuring themselves. So that's why we're putting the concrete on top.
Okay, but then where the fuck... Where did the dead animals
That's what they said. They said dead animals. And they were like, they just don't want the public to get put in danger. I don't know.
I'm questioning what the fuck you're doing inside your company where you're killing off animals. Like, what do you mean?
I think they just meant that they buried their stuff on top of dead animals, but I don't know.
But why would you know that there's dead animals there? Like, they're just like,
that?
It's nature and there's just animals in the dirt.
They like dug a little pit. They're making it sound like they dug a little pit and saw like a ton of dead animals, and then they just put a little bit of their products on top of it, and then they went, ugh. I don't know. It's so weird. What a weird thing to say.
I can't get past that, but okay.
It is a weird thing to say. That is a good point.
Yikes.
But that's what they're saying.
Okay.
The city was pissed, rightfully so, when this was happening, that they were essentially being used as a dumping ground for something that was going on in Texas. So the fact that this was literally from a warehouse in El Paso, and then they were like, let's just throw it into a pit in New Mexico and call it a day.
So rude. Yeah.
So there was such a local uproar about it that they passed laws to prevent something from this basically from ever happening again, because they were like, we don't even know what you did, but we're over it. Don't use us as a dump.
Yeah. Good for you, New Mexico.
Right? Not much more came out of the site, but the legend lived on for decades, leaving people to wonder what was buried there and just how big of a dumping site it was. Speculation included that most of the 3.5 million unsold copies of E.T. the Extraterrestrial was in the landfill, as well as prototypes for new consoles. So if you think about it too, it's like, think about how crazy people are for video games now and collectors. And of the time too, like video game people that was still so popular. So the fact that you basically have this legend, they buried it, did their best to not talk about it, but it's still going to get whispered. Like obviously we didn't have the internet, but people are still going to be like, do you know that if you go to the desert of New Mexico and dig at this pit, you're going to find video games? Like that is a huge...
And dead animals.
Dead animals.
It's you never know what you're going to get in that pit.
For real. This is real.
No, but I know what you mean. Like there's like actual like collectors and things like that would be interested.
Exactly. And so because of that, we have decades of people, talking to each other and guessing what could possibly be down there. Because I think this is the perfect story and conspiracy, basically, of Well, one, it's a conspiracy of a company dumping product, so that's not going to look great. Yeah. So people are going to be thinking about that. But two, there's a treasure hunt component to this, and that's going to make people talk. People are going to go, I want to go to the desert and dig up video games and find things. So,
but you know what I'm kind of pissed about for the company in particular? Mm-hmm. You guys are also interested about going and digging up these fucking video games, but you wouldn't pay full price for them. And that's what led to this shit, you know?
That's
if you're
hilarious.
So interested,
where was this interest earlier?
Come on,
I'm
man.
sure.
I know times are hard, okay? But video games are very important.
That's so funny. I mean, it's so true, though. Like, clearly they...
yeah.
It's comical. But yeah.
Struggling.
So it really is like the perfect, though, lore and story to spread around. And, you know, we're talking, of course, pre-internet, but still people are talking and sharing like the knowledge and, you know, story gets telephoned on. Mm-hmm. So, you know, even though we don't have an idea truly of what was buried, to have it be 3.5 million unsold copies of just one game is kind of wild, kind of crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
And so in October 2004, so this is 20 years later, Howard Warshaw, the programmer responsible for the E.T. game, expressed doubts that the destruction of millions of copies of the game ever took place.
The poor guy, he just doesn't want to believe it.
Well, I think
he's like, I developed that.
Yeah, and his whole point was like, do you really think Atari would just like bury all those games? Like, that doesn't make sense. They could recycle it. Like, he was very in the camp of this is just a legend that people spread around. Like,
poor guy. He has too much faith in big companies.
But because he said that, people went, you know what? This probably has gone too far. The internet probably took it.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's where it was left. Decades of whispers of what happened, if it even did happen, until 2013.
Okay.
A documentary crew was granted access by the city to excavate the dump site. After getting all their paperwork in order, they began in April 2014, and they opened the event to the public. So anyone could come out and watch them dig this site. And this was a big deal because, you know, this is 30 years later. And so information, obviously we have the internet now, so people can talk about it and speculate. Right. We have people from all across the globe. I don't know who actually came out in that regard, but you know, you had a lot of people that were so interested in video games, in collecting. Yeah. This is a very big event in like pop culture video game history. Being able to show up. It's
just so degraded at this point that they're
for sure.
But do you, girlfriend? Good luck.
Well, they also said that like, if it is what Atari said it was pieces of stuff that they crunched up and put concrete over. So what are you really going to find there?
Yeah, exactly.
But they wanted to do it, you know, because there was enough interest.
True. Also
in attendance was Howard Warshaw, who was the programmer, who said, no, this didn't happen.
He's like, I'm proving you right today.
And James, exactly. He's like, I'm going to show you guys that this is a little, it's also good publicity, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And James Heller, the former Atari manager in charge of the original burial.
Oh, the drama.
So, remnants of E.T., Star Raiders, Pac-Man, and many more games were discovered in just the early hours of excavation.
That developer is fucking pissed. He's like, you did what?
Excuse me, what did you do to my game?
The fuck?
James Heller admits that they buried 728,000 cartridges at the site.
That is so many.
That's a lot of games.
Sir.
Only 1,300 cartridges were removed from the burial, but it proved that Atari had used this as a giant burial spot for their unused product. Although Atari has never stated why they dumped so much stuff, some speculate it was a way to control the amount of product out on the market, you know, limited supply. Others stating it was for tax purposes because there was such a big crash. And at the time, Atari, a couple years before, had just been purchased by another company, and all those profits were up, and then it just plummeted in 83, 84, 85.
Well, also it's expensive to get rid of stuff. Like you can't just like go dump that much stuff and because environmental things.
Of the environment.
So they were like, nope, going around that. I'm curious if they found any dead animals. I feel like that was a lie. That was a deterrent.
I think that was a deterrent. There was no proof of dead animals that I saw. What'd you say? What'd you say?
Excuse me, what dead animals? I'm sorry. You're like, why the fuck are you screaming at me?
What a cutie pie.
I love you. Oh my God.
But, okay, now to go back to us.
Okay.
But Atari isn't the only one that has been called out for dumping perfectly good product. In fact, it is a common business practice even to today.
Nike.
And then I literally wrote, have you ever watched those dumpster diving videos on TikTok?
Thank you. Full circle.
Full circle.
People, they're like returns or like expired product.
Yeah.
But like, dude, these are like full face like makeup palettes. People go and do it. And then they had to like start locking up
yes.
the trash cans.
The trash cans.
Out of hand.
And it's not only, and obviously you mentioned makeup products, but I've seen bags. I've seen
all
perfectly evergreen, the stuff that doesn't expire. You know, bag companies, they'll make their employees cut them so they're unusable, but brand new bags. It's just such a wasteful thing that is weirdly a part of capitalism. So, here's the thing, like, I think it's awful that we waste so much stuff, obviously. Like, there has to be better ways. I think when you have other retailers like, what am I thinking of? I keep wanting to say Ross.
Ross.
When you have like a Ross that like takes, you know, other stores' old product and then still sells it.
But then it devalues their product. That's
and people, and that's kind of their, you know, their point. Like, you have to figure out the profit and the resale, but it is so much more sustainable. So at least we have things like that.
But if you want to be like exclusive, like the bag that you're buying today,
Telfar. Oh, I did.
Bought into it. Okay. But they do like this
Don't call me out on our
tactic.
podcast, Taylor.
Listen. They do this scarcity thing where there's like, we only have so many.
Yeah.
There's only so many. And that's why they don't want to like go into like Ross and stuff, because then it's like too available and it loses its value.
Which makes sense. But let's hope that in those scenarios, they aren't over pumping them out. Because I think that's where you find the issue. I think the issue is more so when you have these big companies and they're always trying to do new content. They're always trying to pump different products out because we can, you know, manufacture things faster than ever. And I think it's in those scenarios that then it becomes so wasteful because they have the different seasons of products. Like, I'm gonna hope, and I shout out Telfar because I think they're actually pretty legit. But like,
they probably are.
But for the ones that, the big chains that just are trying to cycle as much product as possible, like those are the people that are gonna be slashing the bags. And and I think that's what's really wasteful. But like for the food stuff, like it sucks because food waste when people are going hungry is awful. Yeah. But at the same time, like there is such liability with things that expire. So it's complicated.
Like, you gotta toss it.
But like it is a liability. So it's hard.
It's so hard to like deal with like supply and demand. I feel like that would be such a hard job.
Oh my gosh. And you're just like, is that a sociologist also coming in to like
it's AI.
People?
It's AI now. But
so true. But it is like figuring out
like that's hard.
Population, things like that. Like that is a really fascinating. I mean, that could be
This is like
own.
such a weird thought that I have like kind of a lot that I'm like, okay, if I go out to eat, like how fresh is the food? Because they have to know like how much of a certain meal is going to be ordered to have the products. And I'm like, did a ton of people get the nachos within the last month, or am I eating old nachos? Like, you know what I mean?
That's a great point. And that is, I mean, obviously we have laws and rules for restaurants to follow for that reason. But it is an interesting point because obviously we haven't had a kitchen. This has become the ongoing, consistent theme of this podcast is me not having a
missing kitchen.
Missing kitchen. Missing link? No, missing kitchen. And
God.
We've obviously, of course, eaten out a lot because we don't have a kitchen to cook food in. And I'm always even at the best restaurants, I'm having very similar thoughts. I'm like, how old are you bulk buying your produce? Where are you getting it from? How old is, like, you don't, like.
They're probably more comfortable cooking with something that's questionable because they're not going to eat it. Whereas, like, if it came out of my fridge, I'd be like, no thanks. But then in a business mindset, you're like, use it. It's on its last day.
Yeah, if it's on its last day.
That always weirds me out.
Yeah.
Because I look at shit that comes out of my fridge sometimes and I'm like, how long has that been in there, girlfriend?
Science experiment in the back.
Yeah. I'm like, no thanks. But like restaurants, I don't know, unless you're really moving a lot of orders.
And I think that's what's kind of like, this is my, like, where I get nervous. This is such an irrational fear, guys. I understand that. And this is going to probably trigger warning for you specifically. I always think it would take nothing for someone to spit in my food.
No,
I always
100%.
think that. I always think
100%.
that. I'm like, this would take nothing. For someone to mess with my food, takes nothing.
That's why, like, DoorDash freaks me out. I'm like, there's just some dude.
I know,
who's
just
like,
carrying my food.
in his car with my food.
I know.
I don't know what the fuck is going on in there.
I know. I worry about the same thing. But thankfully, obviously, they, like, secure the bags and stuff now. But, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
but that's still secured from the restaurant. So someone put it in there. I don't know.
Then you're back to the restaurant. But that's the thing, like.
I swear I got a grilled cheese one time from, where was it? The Melt. Not to call the Melt out because I still like the Melt. But like I had this one time.
I've had them before. I didn't know they were a chain.
Yeah, they have
and
one.
And they do all like the grilled cheeses and all the
mac and cheese, grilled cheese. Well, I got a grilled cheese from there, and I don't know how the hell I went back and ate there again, but it smelled like pee.
See, that freaks me out. If you want to know
why would a grilled cheese smell like pee?
Well, why is pee always, unfortunately, like you and the pee ghost and then pee?
What is that? And you know what's even fucking grosser?
Oh God, okay, go.
I was fucking starving and I had no food in my house, and even though it smelled like pee, I ate it. And I don't know, because I was like, okay, there's got to be like a rational reason why this has like some type of pee smell. And that's not actually pee.
Was it a delivery person?
Well, I don't know what pee tastes like, but it didn't taste like anything. It was not a delivery person.
Well, because maybe like they have a cat, and you know how cats like cat pee
in their car.
Does that make it worse? I thought this would be helpful.
Like the dude just smells so much like cat pee that
maybe the bag
absorbed it.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That's not great.
Listen,
I'm trying to help here.
I was like, maybe it's the oil. I ate it. I survived.
Was it good? Still good?
It was all right. It's like, you know, when there's like the smell. I feel like smell is such a big part of like what you interpret. Oh, yeah. It just kind of was weird.
Ooh.
Yeah. But I've been back since, and they haven't tasted or smelled like pee.
Okay, but that's even more sus for the time it smelled like pee.
No, I always think about it like, am I going to order a fucking pea grilled cheese right now? And sometimes I'm desperate and I take the gamble.
Well, it's also the thing of how if you already possibly ate a pea grilled cheese, what are the chances you're going to eat a second pea grilled cheese?
Exactly.
So,
I just don't even know.
That's so funny. But yeah, I also have those thoughts. But I always was surprised. And I think also living in New York, like for the amount of chaos in this world, I'm shocked there's not more. Like I'm kind of shocked that there's not more. There could be so much more chaos in the world, and there's not.
I think there probably is. Just
I mean, there's still some bad stuff, but like I mean, like constant chaos. Like I would walk around New York City, and I was like, people could just throw something out of a window at any given point, and it could hit me.
I mean, they would go to jail.
That's true. That's true.
Maybe it's the jail part that's freaking people out.
Thank you. The threat of jail for keeping me alive. I appreciate it. Oh my God. That's so wild. So that's what I have, funny. The conspiracy of Atari.
That's what's crazy.
So funny is, so when I was trying to figure out a topic for today, I went on Reddit because, hello, love you Reddit. Thank you for the best. And I found this subreddit was like, what are conspiracies that turned out to be true? And this was a big one on the list. Was
interesting.
It really was like an urban legend. I keep wanting to say internet legend, but internet didn't exist. But it was such an urban legend, and it was such a conspiracy to be like, oh, this company is just dumping shit in the desert. And no, it was real,
true.
Totally real. Over 750. Over 700,000 games though alone.
That's crazy. I still want to know about what animals were in there, but
it does really sound like a quick on your feet answer, and it wasn't great.
Watch out for the contaminated dead animals, and then you're just like, what are you talking about?
It just sounded like they were like, oh my gosh, no, we like barely buried like the cardboard from our games, but there's a lot of dead animals, just so don't go there. Don't worry about it.
Okay, for sure. Just put concrete over it. Anyway, well, I have a very similar type of story, and I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Okay.
But have you heard of the glitter conspiracy?
Okay. Yes.
Yes? Okay.
David and I talk about this all the time.
Yes. Okay. I love this. I don't know if this is going to come to like an answer that you'll be happy with, but I did get to the bottom of it a little bit.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm curious where because David loves this one. And my husband, David, and we talk about this one a lot. Yeah. And I'm so excited to see where you ended.
I didn't actually hear about this for a while. So shout out to my coworker, Curtis. He's like, have you ever heard about the glitter conspiracy? I was like, no, sir. And boy, did I go down rabbit holes. So if you haven't heard of it, you're not alone. But it was blowing up on the internet. Probably around like 2018 is kind of like when this really took off. So
makes sense.
In 2018, there was a shortage of glitter. And so Katie Weaver, a journalist with the New York Times, set out to get to the bottom of it. She found out that there are only 2 glitter manufacturers in America out there, and they're both in New Jersey. Okay. So she reached out, and only one would even speak to her. The founder of GlitterX, Babu Shetty, entertained the curiosity but refused to let her even near where the glitter was being produced, even enough so that she couldn't hear it, be in the same building it was where it was being produced, or visually see it. He was not having any of it. But she thought it was just like, okay, like obviously you have like a difficult processing thing and it's like trade secrets. I don't know about that.
It's kind of giving they like found a portal into another dimension.
Yeah, that's to get the glitter.
That glitter is just being pumped out of. Like why? How could glitter be so?
You're making it weirder by not letting us see it.
Is it really that big of a secret?
I don't know,
why
sir.
is that so weird?
Right? I like thinking about glitter's manufacturing. Like it can't be that crazy, but it actually is.
Plastic. What are you doing?
Crazy. Anyway, she didn't get to see it being made, but she did get in to go to the warehouse where she did see some of the products that were made from glitter. However, even then, she said she could not share some of the things she saw.
She signed an NDA.
Pretty much. Like she was like, can't talk about it. I'm like, girl, you are literally becoming the thing that you're trying to like journal. Like a girl, just tell us.
She's a glitter mafia that she's
getting. She had to do what she had to do to get in there. So we'll let it slide. Some of the products she did mention were credit cards, football helmets, jet ski paint, tracking of animals. So they like have animals ingest glitter and can like track it in their poop because it like doesn't get absorbed.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes, that's like a literal use for glitter.
They make animals eat glitter so they can poop out the glitter and track the glitter poop?
Yeah, and they could track the glitter poop. Talk about a job.
You know when you just hear an idea that you know someone pitched and
like,
obviously it happened, but you're like, that got approved?
It got approved. And who's shifting through the shit to find the glitter? I don't know.
Okay. Well,
it's also apparently in plywood, like a layer of glitter so that there can't be counterfeit plywood. Not that I ever thought there would be counterfeit plywood, because isn't plywood cheap anyway? Like, how are you going to counterfeit a plywood? I don't know. So there's some use cases, right, that she was able to kind of go through.
Okay. Work plywood glitter.
Listen, like my thought was like craft glitter. That's about it. Like I guess they have many use cases. Okay.
I thought when this came up originally, I thought car paint. I was like, car paint must be a big
because you
glitter.
had the flex for sure, and we'll get into that a little bit. Okay. But she was talking with Lauren Dyer, a GlitterX manager, and the conversation got a bit strange. This is straight from Weaver's article. When I asked Miss Dyer if she could tell me which industry served as GlitterX's biggest market, her answer was an instant, quote, "No, I absolutely know that I can't," unquote. I was taken aback, quote, "But you know what it is," unquote. She says, quote, "Oh God, yes." And then she laughed and quote, "And you would never guess it. Let's just leave it at that," unquote. I asked if she could tell me why she couldn't tell me. Quote, because we don't want anyone to know that it's glitter. End quote. And then they asked, if I looked at it, would I know it was glitter? Quote, no, not really, unquote. Would I be able to see the glitter? Quote, oh, you'd be able to see something, but I can't, unquote. I asked if she would tell me off the record. She would not. I asked if she would tell me off the record after this piece was published. She would not. I asked her and I told her I couldn't die without knowing. She guided me to the automotive grade pigments. What'd you trying to say, girlfriend?
That sounds like we're eating glitter. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like we're eating glitter.
I mean, there is edible glitter. So
it's true.
That's a thing. But
that's definitely
I
not
also
this.
I don't know. And then also side note, while I was doing research on this, I decided to look up GlitterX on LinkedIn. And so just to see what Lauren's actual title was, well, they no longer have a public company profile on there. It's just a kind of dead account with nothing on it. And you can't even click on it. And then same goes for almost every employee or past employee. Something's weird, okay? They went through something to get their stuff off LinkedIn.
It's giving government cover-up, personally.
For sure.
It's giving government cover-up.
Katie never answered what it was and wrapped up the article pretty shortly after. And this led people down a rabbit hole trying to figure out what it was. Some guessed food. Some guess sand at the beaches, to make it more pretty, which I don't know. Have you noticed that the sand in California glitters? Because girl, I've noticed.
And it's there's a huge problem with sand. There's not enough sand in the world.
Yeah. But I think it's more mica in the sand. It's probably more of a natural thing. But if you go to a California beach and look at the sand, it literally glitters gold.
I thought Hawaii did too, though. Am I wrong?
No,
you don't think that?
Hawaii's more like fish poop.
I mean, it's definitely fish poop.
And coral. There's definitely
harder
different
and
sand.
Bigger.
Yeah.
Still tiny, but
coarse. Yeah. Yeah, California sand is actually kind of gross, besides the glitter.
But thinking of what she said, can you repeat that again, what she said?
Which one? Which part?
Said in the rapid fire, when she said, I know what it is, and she said, oh
God, yes. And she said, and you'd never guess it. Let's just leave it at that. And then
sand
she said,
makes sense for that.
If I look at it, would I know it's glitter? No, not really. So
sand makes sense for that one.
Would I be able to see the glitter? Oh, you'd be able to see something, but I can't.
Oh yeah, maybe not. Sand's a good one though. I like sand. That's
a good one. I know, the sand is a cute one. There's toothpaste. Yikes. Military planes.
That's 100%.
They got so out of hand. But before we go into what I was able to uncover, what would be your guess?
Okay,
I want to know what
excited.
You think it is.
I mean, I definitely think military is involved, and I definitely think it has to do with the weapons, planes, whatever. I think it's such a coding thing. Mm-hmm. I think that I like the sand one now. The sand one is kind of a fun, terrifying, because I eat so much sand when I'm in the ocean.
Wait, what?
When you're in this, I'm not also a child anymore.
No.
But no. You know when you're swimming and you're doing playing in the waves and then you just get sand everywhere. I'm not eating sand, but
okay, I have swallowed salt water and that was completely unpleasant.
Yeah, when you're just playing too hard. Well, I know, plankton. Goodbye.
But eating the sand, I don't know if I've ever. Well, that's not true. Because sometimes you'll grind your teeth and you're there's definitely fucking sand
in there. Also, to say we had enough as a child. I'm sure that would be uncomfy to know how much sand we've had as children.
I mean, listen, maybe they can track it in our shit like the animals.
Do you think each animal gets its own color? Anyway.
Probably. They probably separate it by, that would make a lot of sense.
I found yellow glitter in this poop.
Yeah.
Okay. New fun conspiracy. This is totally going off the rails, but government already knows about cryptids, and they're tracking certain cryptids with glitter.
With glitter shit.
And Bigfoot's glitter poop is the color. What color should we give him?
Oh God, what color would Bigfoot be? They say silver is the biggest seller, But I feel like silver's too boring for Bigfoot.
I think it has to also pop because he's a hard one to find.
I think he's a fuchsia. He's like a fuchsia glitter.
Yes, I was thinking like a lime green, but like a
I
bright,
like that too.
Bright fuchsia also makes sense. Like a bright,
one of the two. One of the two. Maybe a mix. Maybe they put like multi-chrome in there.
Oh my gosh. Fabulous. Fabulous for Bigfoot. I'm so into this.
Okay.
Okay.
The last line about being led to the automotive paint led people to believe it was a maritime industry, with giant boat manufacturers being the biggest buyer.
Totally makes sense.
They say they use glitter in the paint because it holds up better to the salt water and because it's easier to patch. So people figured that this had to be it because they wouldn't want to know, like they wouldn't want everybody to know that they're using microplastics and things that are sitting in our ocean. Yeah, but in my mind, it's like it's mixed with paint. It's not like you're just like glitter bombing the ocean with these things.
Yeah,
you know?
it's not like the glitter's easy to chip off, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it was never satisfying for me, but I do know like obviously boats, similar to cars, have a lot of glitter in the paint. Like, but
100%.
that's also like
doesn't
there's
seem
no
like
way.
Big
That wouldn't
enough.
be the largest enough to like halt production on glitter. Get out of here. Like to use so much glitter. Get out of here. No. I do, like some people still think this is the answer. Like they're dying on this hill. I just don't think that she would have led her right to the answer if they wanted it to be so secretive. And earlier they were okay with jet ski paint being talked about. So
yeah, that was, she pivoted.
yeah, it's
There's
too
no
close.
way.
It's too close. So then I came across this TikTok. So let me share.
During the interview, she pointed to like automotive pigments. She gave an indirect answer. It's not.
This is Arthur J. Williams Jr., and he is a counterfeiter from the 90s. Just listen to this.
Really, it's a little hunter that changed colors. I was actually walking through a parking lot, and I saw a car. It turned purple and green. The paint job on the car did. As I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, I wonder if we could get that same type of paint to put on there. And we ended up calling the company that made it, and we ended up finding out that they actually made the same stuff for the Treasury Department. Right? Go figure, right? And me and her got to work.
So this man worked out that he could use automotive paint to make the holograms on his counterfeit money, and it turned out that's exactly how the Treasury did it as well. Now the Treasury are probably still doing that today, and my theory on where the glitter is going is that the Treasury don't want it revealing how they make the holograms, therefore they're super secretive about it.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Doesn't it though? Because I was like, okay.
Totally.
Yeah.
I totally see that because then it is a huge issue because then you have everyone counterfeiting money.
Okay, so she's saying that this guy was a counterfeit, like he used to make counterfeit money. He found out that he was like looking at car paint one day and was like, oh, I can like make something hollow like that. So reached out to the glitter company. Glitter company apparently works and does that stuff for the Treasury. So I'm like, she solved it. Like, that is it, right? In my mind, I was like, yes, it's on money, it's on passports, it's on ID cards. They don't want anybody to know that's glitter.
100%. But of course it's glitter. Like if you, again.
I wouldn't have thought that. I know it's like hollow, but I wouldn't have thought it's like a glitter byproduct.
But I think like, gosh, I don't have any cash because, hello. But okay, sorry, go back to what she said. Go back to what she said again.
She said that it's the Treasury. They don't want the Treasury doesn't want everybody to know that they use glitter for the holographic things.
Oh, but no, what did she say in that interview that she was being like?
Oh, she said you wouldn't know, you wouldn't be able to tell it's glitter. You'd be able to see something, but yeah, I can't. If I looked at it, would I know it's glitter? No, not really.
See, that perfectly fits that.
That's what I'm saying.
You're looking at it and you're like, oh, I can see it being glitter, but you're not really thinking about it either.
No, because to me, I would have never thought glitter out of that.
Not at all. I just don't even think about it. But then if you start to think about it, it's like, how would I recreate this? Which is why it's so dangerous for it to come out.
Right. Because those are like very intense things that you don't want to be recreated.
Exactly. Because
They're
ID cards, passports,
yes.
all of that. And on top of that,
yeah,
the government totally would have its hand in this company. And the reason why they only have 2 major glitter companies, so then they can track who the fuck's using this glitter.
Yeah, where it's coming from. They can know where it's like manufactured. It's a whole thing. So it's like that
is totally the answer.
I totally got
I'm
it.
so pumped to tell David.
Well, hold on, bitch.
No.
Because I dug deeper.
I crossed it off, Taylor. We're done.
So did I. I was like, oh my God. End of story. Done with the podcast. I was done with my research.
Cut the cord. Cut the.
But then
Stop the mic.
I came across this like YouTube, these two guys. Well, I don't know if it's a guy or two guys, but they have a YouTube channel called Chuppl, I think. It's CHUPPL, all in caps.
Okay.
And they did a video where they really deep dived into it and they did it really well. And I highly recommend checking out this video. So I'm going to link it in the description. It's just so well done. So they were able to uncover that the actual inventor, who was the founder of glitter and the founder of the first glitter company and the other glitter company that the New York Times didn't go to, was also involved in the Manhattan Project. So at first they were like, oh my God, glitter is an atomic bomb.
Yes, I was going to say, is that like shrapnel? Like tiny
Yes.
pieces of
So
shrapnel?
they're like, oh my God, that's what it is. But then they were able to get in touch with the man's son, who basically confirmed that glitter is in a lot of military products like SHAP, which is like, basically they drop it from planes and it deters radar. Like it's like it confuses the radar systems. So legit a glitter bomb basically. But that wasn't actually glitter. And he basically said that glitter manufacturers were really just precision cutters and you can make any different product from that machinery. So the government originally came to his father because he was a precision cutter and he was able to make washers out of mica. And then the byproduct of that was glitter. And so it turns out to the creation of like the first glitter company because they realized that people were interested in the byproduct. Wow. So they were like sprinkling it on like Christmas trees and shit. And he's like, wait a minute. If I just make glitter, I can make a business out of that.
Whole process. Wow.
So the son confirms it's in things like steel fibers that go into the brake system of airplanes so that they don't get like overheated. And then also like glitter is indeed in some toothpaste. So that's not ideal. And then it's also in like boat manufacturers use it for paint. So it's been confirmed. Of course. Cosmetics, holograms on money for the US and foreign currencies. What? So that's correct. Redstone rockets and batteries. And there's like so many more use cases.
Was he just pissed at his dad that day? Like, damn, dude.
You know what happened? His freaking siblings kicked him out of the company. So it was like this 40-something billion, I don't know, a 40-something billion dollar company. I doubt it's billions. $40 million company.
It could be, though. That's an expensive industry.
It could be, though. If they're the only other one, it definitely could be. You have to watch the video because I'm probably misquoting this. But he got exiled by his family out of the company.
And he's like, you
and
think
now it's
you're
worth
done
like
with
4.
me, bitch? You think
like,
you're done with me?
I'm fucking exposing it. And you know what? He went to go drive to like the actual factory. And like this lady caught them and was like, you need to leave. Like, you need to respect this.
Well, I feel like that's also okay. If I know it's very petty, but if he is outing all these things, that's like treason against the country, kinda,
but not really. I feel like it's like, yeah, I don't know. He never actually answered the question of like who is the biggest industry or buyer for it. Like that never actually
probably
came out.
knew the line.
I mean, it's basically implied that it's the U.S. government through military contracts.
That makes sense.
There's like a middleman to it for a number of reasons, really. So I think like they use it for so much shit. But really what I think was happening is obviously the lines can be used, like the precision cutters can be used for different products for things like weapons. And so they halted the like manufacturing of craft glitter. People noticed, they were like, where the fuck's all the glitter? And it's because they were doing things for like weaponry for the US military or printing a bunch of fucking money or something.
I mean, it's an interesting thing to track. Like, if there's a shortage of glitter, where does that glitter go?
Right.
And that's a complicated piece of that puzzle.
So there's not, but you were close though in your answer. You're like, I think it's the military.
I think it's the military.
So it is the military.
I didn't guess money. I did not guess money. That's a true rip.
The second you can't say a lot, it's usually the fucking military. Okay.
I agree. Like why are you? I genuinely agree with this so hard. Like if you don't have an answer and for some reason it's really locked down, it's like why else? Why else would there be anything? You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
Who cares that much?
The military.
The military.
The U.S.
Duh.
government.
Duh.
U.S. government, don't not fuck around.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, I guess it's not that, like, the U.S. in general, the government
Yeah.
has a lock on it, which is so weird if you think
know.
about it. But they went into, like, how, like, glitter is produced. This is, like, a total side note because that was, like, basically my topic. But they went into how they produce glitter. It's actually freaking intense. Like, it's, like, aluminum, like, layered on top of this different plastic, and it has to be, like, a certain, like, refractive thing so your eyes can catch it. There's also some glitters that are on the UV spectrum, so we wouldn't even be able to see it.
But then they can track it.
Which freaking matches to what she said. Would you be able to notice it? No, not really.
No, not really.
Would you know it's glitter? No, not really.
Would you know it's glitter? No, not really. That's
And
so
then, like,
crazy.
I guess if you can see UV.
That's such a trip. You know how we've said that the government, not even the world, is like held together by like glue, popsicle
Glitter,
sticks.
yes.
It's glitter. It's glitter.
It's glitter.
The
And
world
who would have thought?
held
You know?
together by glitter. It just
And I
sounds
think that's
like
why this took off, though, because people are like, fucking glitter is like the bane of everybody's existence. If it comes into your house, that shit's not leaving.
Yeah, it's so true.
And you're
Apparently,
like,
you wouldn't
who
even
the
know
hell?
some of it.
For real. You don't even know what's in there. You got glitter in your house
Oh
right
my
now.
gosh,
You're
my
probably
orb
driving
is
around in
actually
glitter.
fucking glitter.
Dude, that's the doo-doo-doo-doo. That makes so much sense.
God, I do have a lot of fucking glitter randomly.
Okay, see? There you go.
That's hilarious. Wow. That
Oh
is
my
such
God.
a trip. That is such a trip.
So bizarre.
I think it's money. I think that makes
I
so
think it's
much
money
sense.
too. Well, I also think it's money and like weapons.
I mean, it's probably everything, to be honest. It kind of sounds like
So
they're
many
just
things.
putting glitter everywhere and seeing what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
You know how we have too much like pollutants from old like in our
PFAS?
No, I mean, yeah, fucking that too. No, but you know how we have too much space junk? Like we have way too many
Yes.
old satellites and stuff. When I learned that fact, I don't remember how old I was, but I just remember thinking like, oh my God, like why is no one cleaning up after themselves? Like I was so young and I was like, why are
Yeah.
people not cleaning this up?
I mean, I still kind of think that. Like, hello.
They should, but they don't
should.
have to. It's like a not regulated thing. And
Right.
so the fact that if that's already how they're treating space, could you fucking imagine?
We're never getting rid of glitter.
We're not. That's
It's
probably the
on this
microplastics
earth
that's in our blood. It's probably
forever.
glitter.
We probably do have glitter in our blood.
We bleed glitter. So-
Dude, it's kind of sad. What I've
kinda
realized from
satisfying,
this
yeah.
whole podcast is that honestly, there needs to be more environmental protective things. Like, there
we're
needs
too
to be
late,
more
I think.
laws.
Don't you think? I think it's a
Well,
little
yeah,
too
they
late.
buried a fuck ton of video games in the middle of New Mexico. Like,
Atari folded or went defunct technically before we were born. So like
I
the
was gonna
fact,
say,
have you seen the balloon party thing that happened in like Chicago?
no, what?
Oh.
They released a bunch of balloons?
Oh my fucking God. Talk about we just needed so much
Am I gonna be disappointed in us before
yes.
we were born?
yes, you will. It's called Ohio's 1986 balloon disaster. Have you ever heard of this?
No. The balloons are gonna have to come down.
They're gonna have to
Holler.
go somewhere. And they just
like,
were
oh,
like, no,
there's-
it's fine. This is going to be a really beautiful, magical moment. And like the footage, I highly recommend watching it. Or maybe I'll cover it. I should cover it because
Yeah.
it is such a trip because you just see all these little kids like, oh my God, balloons.
I mean, I'm sure it was really cool to see, but like, hello.
Oh my gosh.
Long-term thinking, people.
And
Come on now.
I think there's a special place in our hearts a little bit for balloon pollution because man, the amount of times in our childhood
That
I
we've
heard
released a balloon.
well, released a balloon, but then also got reamed for it because everyone was like, a dolphin's
Yeah.
gonna choke on that. How dare you? And I was like so afraid. I was so afraid.
But I have done it a couple times. I've
think
released a balloon.
I think we all have at some because it was kind of a thing. But I remember then feeling really bad about it because I remember teachers and stuff being like,
Yeah.
a dolphin's gonna choke on it, and like I don't think
Do you
people on the
still
mainland say
cut-
that.
do you cut your little like ringy things if you get like sodas or like Gatorades, or you probably don't even drink soda or Gatorade, but do you cut the little things if you get them?
It comes in the plastic thing?
Yeah, like beer and stuff. Yeah.
Alcohol-free house, baby.
Damn, girl. You have no vices.
No vices. Okay, but apparently Topo Chico's now on the bad list because it has forever chemicals in it. And I'm like,
it has PFAS in it?
Yes.
Everything has. I fight with Trent about this almost daily. He is so scared of literally, you can't burn a candle. You can't eat that, it has red 40 in it. He threw out our Leahy Moy fucking watermelons the other day because he was like,
that thing has a lot of bad shit in it though.
Listen, at a certain level.
What are we going to do at a certain point?
Everything is chemicals. It's the dose that makes the poison. Okay?
It's because at a certain point, like, I don't drink. I have to eat super well for my migraines. I'm already like, and I was like, I told David, I was like, I can't, like, I love sparkling water. If that's what's the thing that is slowly killing me, like, what am I supposed to do? Like,
I'm kind of like that with soda. I'm just like, fuck it. And also, too, I'm not going to lie to you. I fed my unborn child today. What's it called? What the fuck is that called? It's spaghetti in a can.
Oh, spaghetti?
Chef Boyardee. Oh. He definitely got a dose of Chef Boyardee today because I was like, hey, dude, I want to cook lunch.
Delicious. But like,
surviving.
I think about this all the time because overall, all things considered, think about what we ate when we were kids.
Oh, I know.
In comparison
I got
to
Otter
now.
Pops the other day because it sounded good. Right?
How is your mouth?
Great. Because they taste fucking amazing. But I look at the
always
freaking
like rips you. You know, when you're like...
No, well, I think that's when our mouths are smaller.
Too small.
I definitely don't have that problem now. And I'm also like, these don't last very long. Like, I open it and it's gone and usually have like a bunch of liquid at the bottom. There's no fucking liquid at the bottom. It's like barely there. I'm like, am I too old for this?
Maybe they improved.
Probably. But there's like all like the bad like coloring agents in it. And then it's like all corn syrup. So it's fine.
Well, and it's like, there's definitely things, and you can always be better, right? That's the point. You can always be better. And I know that there's like Red 40 is like being banned in other countries. So I'm like, we're fucked. That's in everything in America. That's in literally everything.
Red 40, isn't it bugs? I heard that red food coloring is from bugs.
I mean, I'd rather bugs than like glitter.
But I swear to God, it's like for real. But that's another conspiracy. Maybe I should cover like, where the hell does Red 40 come from? That's probably just a quick Google search, but it's fine. We'll make an episode out of
it. Okay. Well, what did we do last week? General Weird?
General Weird.
Okay. Next week, Uncomfy Truths. I'll do Balloon. You do Red 40.
40. Yikes.
Done.
Then I'm not going to want to eat my red Otter Pops.
That's
man.
true.
That's
maybe
like
maybe once you're not pregnant. Because that's like hard. It's cravings
I know. Now
are real.
I'm going to be like, oh, shit.
Cravings are real. Anyway. Okay. So what do we think is the do-do-do-do of this week?
The do-do-do-do is the New York Times.
Yeah.
Tracking, what's it called? Bigfoot with glitter shits.
I love that. I mean, that's just my
There was another big one that now all of a sudden I'm blanking on. Oh, girl, I don't even know. There was another one.
Glitter and Atari. I mean, glitter would be on paints and stuff for video games.
Possibly. That's a reach.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
It's the government.
The government.
That's pretty much
The government actually owns Atari. That would be amazing.
Yeah, seriously. They probably own the glitter companies. Well, they probably don't own them, but it's fine. They're everywhere.
What a great little episode. Do you have anything else before we wrap this baby up?
No, that's it. I'm going to go eat an Otter Pop.
I'm going to go have a Topo Chico and cry.
Perfect.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.